Test. Excuse me a moment. Test, test. Hmm. Right. Just fixing the audio. The audio. Hold on a second. If I put this here, it's a little bit embarrassing. I haven't streamed for a while, and first thing that happens. 1, 2, 3. All right. It should be working right now. It should be working right now. All right. Hello everyone. This is Bad Our Boy, and I've missed you. I've missed you guys. I really did. It's been quite a while actually since I've streamed anything. Uh, well, I don't know what to say. A lot have happened since I originally wanted to stream this. And I do mean like a lot of shit. I've wanted to stream this actually back in November or December. But unfortunately, things just kept getting in the way, and like mostly technical difficulties. And like right now was the soonest I could stream this, honestly. It's been long overdue. So, the war. Well, I'm not sure what to say, how to start this actually. Like any mental script I've had in mind for the last few months kept changing with how the region kept changing, and let's just say we're in a special historical period now where a lot of things are happening quite fast, and you never, every other day there's a big event happening. Things are changing and they're progressing very quickly. So one never knows what tomorrow hides or what happens in the next hour. Honestly, it's um, it's been a tough time. So I think it's best to start and talk about the war itself before talking about anything else. I'll provide some context first. October 7th, 2023, Tufan Al-Aqsa happened, and on its backdrop, the war on Gaza began. October 8th, 2023, the Lebanese support front was opened in the north, and I believe on October 11th, either 10th or 11th, there was a serious idea to invade Lebanon uh, by Israel, the Zionist enemy, whatever you want to call it, between quotations. But it did not happen, it did not happen at the time. Now, there's been a lot of, skirmishes that happened, bombs being dropped at the border, rockets being flung at the border, a lot of these kinds of skirmishes. It went throughout the end of 2023 and most of 2024 until August 2024, when uh, when the assassination of Fuad Shukr happened, the Hezbollah commander. And there was a frenzy back then. There was a real frenzy. There was a fear of a war happening. Like, what would the Lebanese resistance do? How would the Israeli reaction? How strong would it be? And that was, type of fear. And I don't know if you guys heard that, but there were fireworks or something, maybe a motorcycle passing by, like a little bit of a loud noise in the distance, and it made me jump. More on that later. Let's continue. So, when the assassination happened in August, we went up north, stay with some relatives for a while, just to see how things will shape up. Uh, by the end of August, the retaliation happened, and that was that. Or so we thought. We went back to our lives. Everything went back to its normal routine. I went back to preparing for my finals, and things were more or less normal, minus the uh, the sonic booms. Now, I don't want to call them sonic booms. Over here, we call them jidar sod, or what's it called, sound barrier. It's when jets break the sound barrier, and it creates a loud sound, a very, very loud, annoying sound. It's like two booms back to back, like boom, 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 something like that. It's very loud, and ironically, it kind of reminds me of that Netflix opening sound. It's strange, but it reminds me of that. And and uh, it's very nasty, when you're sitting minding your own business, and then you hear the sound barrier, and it's just not a fun. It wasn't a fun time to be alive. I can tell you that. Towards the end of September, the pager attack happened on a Tuesday. Then on a Wednesday, the walkie-talkie attack happened, and the day after that, on a Thursday, there was heavy sound barriers. And then on Friday was what is known as the massacre of the commanders, when a multitude of Hezbollah military commanders were assassinated in an airstrike. Um, when that happened, we packed up again, went to our relatives to stay over the weekend. Over the weekend, there was a lot of bombing in the south. But I had a final on Monday, and so we returned home Sunday evening. I prepared for my exam, did some last moment reviews, last moment studyings, went to sleep, woke up, prepared myself, went to my university. I did my exam. My exam was about international private law. It was a good exam. I finished it. We had devised this sort of system in my family where we go together everywhere, so that none of us is stranded in these weird times. Whatever happens, we're all together. So my family was waiting in the car outside the gates for me, outside, outside my faculty. I finished the exam, went out with my family, and as we were leaving the university at the gate, we got a phone call from my grandmother. She tells us uh, the IDF has started a bombing campaign in the south and is promising to bomb Beirut. We went home directly, packed a few things, a few essentials, and went and waited in the car. And in a place like near our home that wasn't exactly like a targeted area, or you wouldn't think it's a targeted area. And we sat there waiting to see what will happen. Maybe it's a false alarm. Maybe we were waiting to see what will happen. What happened is hell on earth has begun. It was a declaration of war. 600 people died in a single day. What happened is that we realized this is serious. War has begun, so we left and went up north back to our relatives. And it was one of the hardest days in my life, because I was trying to reach out other family members who were living in the south, who were staying in the south at the time, including my own father. And uh, it was pretty scary. fearing for the people you love, people you care about, knowing things are going fucked up, are gonna get fucked up, and they have gotten fucked up pretty fast. By the time I was contacting my family members, or 200 people were already dead, 250 people, and that's not something that you can take very lightly. And I will not say that day was the first day of the war for me because, in a sense, I've been living this war for quite some time now. I've been in this mental frame where I was afraid of a war happening, where the worried of a war happening because I'd see the atrocities the IDF commit and any kind of tension. It will make me wonder, what if it's our turn? What if that kind of atrocities come to us? Well, it came to us. It came on that Monday. Believe it was the 27th. We packed our stuff. It was the 20. It was, I believe, the 23rd, the 22nd, not the 27th. 27th part. The assassination. It's it's a little bit hazy. It's been a few months. Sorry. We go to our relatives. We stay. We watch the news, and a few days later, there's a massive attack on the southern suburbs of Beirut. And later that night, we find out the target was the General Secretary of Hezbollah, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. And the next day, his martyrdom is declared. And it was a moment of disbelief for a lot of us. There's people who were crying, people who were shocked, disbelief, crying out. And what I thought about was they declared his martyrdom on the same day that Abdel Nasser died. On the anniversary of his death, and I thought to myself how ironic, or rather, how how fitting that two great men died on the same day, or rather, the same time frame. Now, but his death, put us in the unknown. It was a horrible time, especially because there's been assassinations left and right, bombings, bombardments, and all of that. It was horrible. It was scary. Um, no, luckily I wasn't near any airstrikes per se, so I did not hear them loud and clear, but I did hear a lot of thud. And it would happen mostly at night. At night, the spokesperson of the IDF, the Arabic one, Afiqai Atra, he would come and send a bunch of maps of where he thought, where or what is being targeted, and then you start hearing the shelling, the bombing at night, and it brought me a lot of discomfort. So I tried to sleep before, like it would happen around midnight. So I decided to sleep around 10 p.m. On the night I decided to sleep around 10 p.m. The bombing started at 10 p.m. Next night I decided to sleep around 9 p.m. The bombing started at 9 p.m. As if someone is timing that shit. I swear to God, it's fucked up. I don't know. That kind of coincidence was really not something I like. A lot of things happened in that war. A lot of ugly things. No, I've always complained about the area where I live, and I complained about how much traffic is in it, how sort of ugly it is, buildings upon buildings upon buildings. But when you see that area is being bombed, it fills you with a deep kind of sorrow. Of course, after that, the ground invasion began, and so you'd follow the news about that, and where I was staying, there were at least about 3 or 4 airstrikes, not where I was, but around where I was. You'd hear the thud was closer, One of my relatives happened to be passing by, sending some relief for some refugees, and almost died in one of the airstrikes. The airstrikes were was targeting the refugees, targeting civilians. And speaking of refugees, over a million people left their homes, left the south, the Bekaa Valley in the east, left the southern suburbs of Beirut, and then moved to safer areas. And a lot of them stayed in schools, a lot of them tried to rent apartments, and the prices of apartments, of prices of rent skyrocketed. And there was a lot of people taking advantage of the situation, of the refugees, of people escaping war, in terms of rent, in terms of selling essentials, even robbing them, ambushing them, acting as if they're renting an apartment, and then ambushing them like gangs and robbing them. Sometimes that send you, oh, call this number, it will help you. And when you call the number, they'd say, well, you know what, you deserve it, fuck you. It was a type of an emotional thing. Now, personally, my family and I, we were in a better position than most. Thank God for that. But I also, my heart goes out to those people who had to sleep in classes on the floors. It was horrible. Everything about this is horrible. War is fucking horrible. And what's more horrible was the attempts to stir up civil unrest. Certain people going on TV calling a civil war is incoming, a civil war is incoming, a civil war is incoming. But I believe that it was that moment when the core of the Lebanese people truly shined. Lebanese people stood together in their times of need. They helped each other. They supported each other, and they squashed a lot of this sort of hate speech. Like you'd see a lot of political commentator from the right wing, the Lebanese right wing, and they'd be talking about, oh, war is coming, civil war is coming, and the likes. Like, and or saying you deserve what's happening to you, you deserve what's happening to you, and it it's not truly something you say if you wanted to live together in the same country. This type of shit that was sickening to me. Um, One of my professors actually is member of parliament, associate, a member of parliament and a member of the Lebanese forces, a Christian right wing party, or rather the Christian right-wing party in Lebanon, uh, went on TV and said, "You deserve what's happening to you." And then it sickened me. It sickened me so much. I actually was sickened by what she was talking that I turned off the TV before she said that sentence. That literally the sentence was, "This is um, this is divine justice." She said it is divine justice. What did they ever do to you? I don't know. But so it was. There were some really ugly voices trying to take, use the situation to their advantage. Now, when you are a country facing aggression, your goal is to reach a ceasefire. The sooner the better. And we we stood facing the aggression until and as the IDF was failing time and again to break through the front lines in their ground invasion, that in the end it was the Israelis that asked us for a ceasefire. And negotiations happened, and the ceasefire returned us to UN Resolution 1701. I think it was the best we could get, and with withstanding such an aggression for 2 months, for I believe 66 days, if memory serves right. Again, I don't have a script in my hand. I'm just going off what I remember, what I felt. No, it was survival. It was victory via survival. And sadly, during the ceasefire, the IDF entered certain Lebanese towns, occupied them, and it continued. for quite some time until the 18th of February last month when they withdrew, except from 5 positions where they still occupy till this day. And that was basically the war. About 6,000 person perished. Um, a lot were, I believe it was 6,000 people. A lot were put in the hospital. A lot of injured people. A lot of homes were destroyed. I have relatives who lost their homes in the early days of the war and literally in the last few hours of the war. My own childhood home was brought down. I believe it wasn't the target in that airstrike, but the fighter jet mistook the target and shot our my childhood home instead. Um, our home in my hometown was damaged, and like property loss is something, but human loss is way worse, and it always pained me when I heard about human loss, especially when it was refugees staying in a safe area that were bombed and killed. Oh, speaking of bombed and killed, I every single night without fail, I would have a nightmare about the jets bombing. Yeah. I'd sometimes wake up in a cold sweat. I'd sometimes go through the dream until it's over. I sometimes would realize it's a dream and wake myself up. And that carried on throughout the war and even after it. The first time it happened was actually before the war. It was in May. I've had a nightmare where everyone I love, when I cared about, or I care about friends and families and myself, we died. Like literally, the dream ended as the bombs were dropping, and I woke up and I had a panic attack in my sleep, and it affected me for like 3 days. It's not fun. And those nightmares continued very well after the war. Sometimes I still have them occasionally, but right now my nightmares have stopped becoming about bombings and more so about uh, killer clowns and demons or some shit. I don't know. It's the first week. It's the end of the first week of Ramadan. Uh, may be blessed for everybody. When you eat in the evening, when you eat quite a lot in the evening and go to sleep, you start seeing some really weird shit in your dreams. But no, that was the war for me. The war for me was anxiously listening to the news, sometimes trying to keep myself distracted, thinking what would happen, checking up on my family members, checking up on my friends. Every week I check up on my friends, make sure they're all right. Luckily, some lost their homes, but luckily they didn't lose their lives. And I'm very glad that during this aggression, I like my family, like we didn't lose any family members. Like property can be, compensated, can be switched, can be, you can always get something when it comes to property. But human life and no, that I was for a few days. There was a week, I believe, where they bombarded a lot in the mornings in the area where I live. Not exactly where I live, but in the area where I live, supposedly. And every day, every morning, I would be drinking tea, morning tea, with my family and watching the the news and wondering if my home would crumble before my very eyes on national television, live on TV. It's not a good feeling, and it also didn't help that around this time I was being harassed by a troll online. It was actually very weird. Like I don't even know the guy. I don't know why the guy really took an interest in harassing me and a few others. Um, like it took the form of some weird messages, massive friend requests, DMs. It was very strange. Like at one moment I'd be accused of being an Israeli, and then another time he'd hope I'd be bombed and die. And like honestly, it was rather it is fucking pathetic. It is fucking pathetic. I believe that was very pathetic. And it didn't really affect. Like sometimes it amused me. Like holy shit, look at this fucking asshole. Look at this idiot. But sometimes it really didn't. It was annoying. Let's just say it was annoying. Like what he said didn't get to me, but it was really bothersome and annoying, having to deal with that. And it was a nuisance that I did not need on top of, the type of anxiety that I was already feeling. Um, oh my God. So there was something that happened with me one night. It was one of those events that, that really struck me at my core. Um, I was asleep, and around 3 a.m. my phone rang. And around that time, people were saying that the IDF were calling phone numbers to tell them we are going to bomb, evacuate. And sometimes it'd be prank calls, sometimes it'd be something else. But my phone rang. I looked at it, it was a strange number. I did not answer. I thought maybe it's a wrong number. I did not answer. Like it wasn't a Lebanese, it was from abroad. Now I said, maybe it's a wrong number. Maybe people are calling to check on their relatives from some other place. I let it go. It disconnected, and then it rang again. And I let it go once more. And then it rang a third time. I'm like, fuck me, no, that something isn't right. Something isn't right. Why is this phone number from, and the country code was Malta, I believe, was calling me at 3 a.m. consistently, and we the army issued a hotline that we can call to report phone numbers, and we tried to report that phone number, but unfortunately we uh, we didn't get any response from the other line, and we ran out of phone credit. Go figure. The phone call stopped. The calls stopped, but I couldn't sleep again that night. I was up. I was worried. I was overthinking everything. And then, the the radiator of an AC unit went on, and it went on like and it sounded as if it's like it has the same sound as if a rocket is coming towards you, and I fucking freaked out. Like I jumped out. My heart was beating very fast because I already had that phone call. I had that idea in my mind that people are like there's calls telling people to get the fuck out before we bomb you. That noise came out. It was not a fun night for me. I can tell you that much. I ended up reading about 20 pages of a book I was reading about Yemeni unification before I managed to go back to sleep. It was a shitty fucking time. I can tell you that much. War is fucking horrible. It's ugly. It's disgusting. I just don't understand how people can glorify it. When I go and look on YouTube, for example, people making those weird fucking edits, Sigma male edits or whatever they're called, and how they glorify war and how they glorify violence and dying in war and dying in warfare, and it's all bullshit. War is not this glorious tale. It is It is it is ugly, you know. Like, we'd as a people, we'd rather not go through a fucking war. We'd much rather live peacefully. Sadly, when war is imposed on you, you have to go through it, you have to fight it, you have to stay alive, you have to survive. You know, now there's a lot of propaganda going around. Propaganda I believe in, propaganda I oppose, but at the end of the day, the basics of humanity is that we do not want war. We want to live in peace. And I believe every human being wants to live in peace. I believe the humans people who want war, they're not right in the head. There's something wrong with them. People who pray for war, people who glorify war, people for one reason or another, for national causes, for religious causes, for I believe striving for peace first and foremost is the goal for every normal human being. But when war is imposed on you, when aggression is imposed on you, when oppression is imposed on you, you have to fight back, and or rather, you have to survive it by fighting back. Now, sometimes the methods are not the best ones. Sometimes there's some faults, some overestimations, underestimations. The tactics or the strategies are not right. The emotions are right, but the strategies aren't. That happens a lot, and one could go through and look at this war, look at the war in Gaza, look at the war at any war, at any conflict anywhere, and in hindsight, things maybe should have been done differently at one point by some people, but what happened has happened, and afterwards, I didn't go back home throughout December. I stayed at my grandparents, and at that time we also had a medical emergency in the family. But then when I finally got back home after New Year in January, I you know I started getting back into the groove. I had already finished my finals. I have passed my first master's year. Became basically eligible to apply for the bar association, which actually I'm in the process of right now. Sadly, there's a little bit of bureaucratic issues. I don't like the word issues. I like issues. It's nicer. I don't know. Anyway, stupid grammatical thing. Anyway, I I'm in the process of applying for the bar association exam. Sadly, a few issues stand in the way. I might not be able to go for this round of exams. Hopefully, I will. Hopefully, I will. But I will see. No, but I, I ran from one office to another in the university administration back in January, trying to get my paperwork in order so I can. So hey, dude, yes, it is live. It is live. We are live in a stream. Got my paperwork in order so I could apply to I know my second master's here, which is like the actual. It's a weird system, the LMD system, which is American French or something. Hey there, Nestor, how are you? So I prepared my paperwork and I applied for my master's year. There was an entrance exam. I did set entrance exam, and right now yours truly is working on projects for his classes in his second master's year. You two missed out on the whole war thing that I've talked about. But you can go back later and watch it. Actually, I believe this video, um this video I would put it on the forefront of my channel. I believe people hearing this are important. Do you remember me, Wajib? You was in a. Really? Yes, I do remember that. I do remember that. Well, good to see you again, my friend. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Nestor. I appreciate that. So life continues, but the issues persisted. Throughout January, there was would they? Like, there was still this worry that when the um, ceasefire uh, expires, you know, maybe they'll be back. War might come back, and uh, by February, I was engulfed in the stress of my master's year of the project. So like throughout February, I worked hard on the projects to get, that through that stressful phase of the semester. And it wasn't until this very week, where I started feeling like, yes, I have more time for myself. I have more, flexibility in my schedule, and that's why I am streaming tonight. The You are worried that Gaza will not be a bit. I want to say that the purpose of the Lebanese support front wasn't to pick a fight with Israel, wasn't to invite a war. Now, in hindsight, one can say we were throwing, or the resistance was throwing stones at a hornet's nest. That's not really what I want to talk about. But the support front was there to hasten a ceasefire in Gaza, and I believe, after our ceasefire. Uh, uh, it laid the groundwork for a ceasefire in Gaza. Now, our ceasefire was called to be a defeat of some kind, while the ceasefire in Gaza was a victory. Now, there's a lot of factors that played into that, how in Gaza, Al Qassam were fighting on their own turf, while in Lebanon, like they were cornered and fighting to the last man, while Lebanon was a more of a flexibility in Gaza, or like because they were fighting among their people. While there's a lot of things that play into this, and a lot of factors. But I do not believe it's right to say this was a defeat, this was a victory. I believe it was the same situation, although the taste wasn't the same. Because like we got into like what was supposed to be a support front turned into a war. We lost our commander per se. We were not expecting this. The government was not ready to deal with such a thing. There was a lot of shortcomings on the part of the Lebanese government, or the Lebanese system rather. There wasn't really a plan put in place. The plan that existed did not was the plan that was put in place wasn't fully funded at that time. Um, there was a lot of disarray, a lot of not disarray, a lot of confusion, and the plan was not enough for the scale of the aggression that we faced as a country. And you know, a lot of these factors came into play. Quick question: did your university do anything during the war, pursuing like deadline extensions or pausing class? What happened during the war is that exams were put on hold. uh, Deadlines were extended for registering, and we started. The semesters did start, and online classes did start, and I did attend a few, but like not the second master year classes. I attended a few. No, like I attended one language class per week, because just to keep my French language being practiced. It's needed. It's needed. The scary part is that the Palestinian dream will be gone with the fall and the near official division of Sham, as we have no solution but the people accept the ideas of Anton Saadi. I mean, well, Anton Saadi had the right ideas. Not sure how they can be applied nowadays, but what happens right now after the end of the war? I said, you know what? We survived. We put pressure on the IDF. We caused them a lot of casualties, and hopefully soon, and negotiations for a ceasefire in Gaza has begun. That the Lebanese people have offered the Palestinian people more than the entire Arab world combined. I must say, like probably Yemen, or the like Houthi Yemen was doing a lot for Palestine. But when it comes to so much sacrifice, let's say Lebanon delivered a lot because we were right at the border. We lost um, our essentially our commander, our father figure. We lost. We fought directly against the IDF. We lost soldiers in the Lebanese army. We lost the members of the Lebanese resistance. We lost a lot of civilians, a whole lot of civilians. It was an ugly ordeal. And I must say that, and some people in Gaza were saying that, from this day forward, the Lebanese people, nobody get to say anything about them, because they pay their dues. Now it's time for the rest of the Arab world, the rest of the Muslim world, to pay their dues to the Palestinian cause. And I say yes, we fucking paid our dues. We suffered, we fought, we died, we lost homes and people, and, you know but we stood for what was right. Lebanon was, I will tell you, Lebanon was being punished for standing for what is right, for standing for humanity, for standing against the fucking genocide. And we were punished for it. Uh, so I said, you know what? Okay, we got out of the war, we survived, victory via survival, we got a ceasefire, and we had plans to elect a new president. The internal political cycle is gonna continue. Things didn't go as hoped, didn't go as planned, didn't go as this was not the best case scenario. The best case scenario was a pro fantasy where we'd be in Galilee. The resistance would be liberating Galilee, but that did not happen, evidently. But it was not the worst case scenario. No, the IDF couldn't even break through the first line of towns in the south, so let alone reach the Litani River, let alone reach Beirut itself. So I'd say it was not the worst case scenario. It was not the best. It was not the worst. What happened? That happened. But then what happened is the fall of the Assad regime. The fall of the Assad regime happened, you can say happened overnight. During that time, my Discord server turned into a war room, discussing news tidbits and then strategies and ideas and what will happen, what will not happen. But what happened is the regime fell overnight. The entirety of the Syrian Arab army had disintegrated, as in their strategic capabilities were wiped off the face of the earth by Israeli airstrikes, and the yeah, I'd say the Salafi jihadists took over the country, or rather took over Damascus, or tried to take over the country. Right now, they're dealing with rebellion upon rebellion. It's ugly. It's a lot of civilians are being murdered. Water supplies are being poisoned. It's horrible. It's really horrible what's going on right now in Syria. Add to it an Israeli invasion and occupation in the south. Syria, Syria is dealing with some shit, and I want to say that I loathe Bashar al-Assad. I hope he would never return to ever rule Syria again. I do believe that him being ousted was well deserved. Uh, at the time, he seemed like the best geopolitical option, and I do believe he still was, compared to what we have today. But he was a horrible man. He had 13 years, let alone fucking 4 years, to do any form of reforms, anything to fix the situation in his country. He did not. He tried to play on both sides, and he eventually lost and was abandoned by everyone. Um, the future of Syria is bleak, right? And with it, Lebanon will be affected. If Syria falls into disarray, Lebanon will be affected. And if Lebanon falls into disarray, Syria will be affected. So Lebanon and Syria have this symbiotic relationship where if one gets fucked, the other will be fucked as well. Um, so it is important that both countries, get through these hard times, and get um, and find their footing in this world. So that's in regards to Syria. Now, I do believe that at this stage, the Arab people must unite, the Arab countries must unite. This has always been my position, that a unified plan of action should be taken, and Arab countries, all Arab countries, should cooperate in this manner on all levels, militarily, diplomatically, politically, economically, to form a cohesive, strategic, regional plan to combat Israel, to boycott it, to isolate it diplomatically, to put it in its place, to make it stand accountable for its crimes against humanity, for its genocide, for its murder of civilians, and you know, since sadly the idea of unity of the fronts, fighting on all fronts against Israel by resistance movements, didn't go as was hoped. Right now, a lot of the resistance movements are licking their wounds, you know, processing what happened, figure out what the next step is. Now, I wouldn't know anything about that. I'm just a spectator from the outside. I just talk what is being told, what's being said in speeches, in articles, and the likes. Uh, so don't really take it from me. I do not know what the next step is, and I will not talk further. Like, what will Hamas do? What will Hezbollah do? What will the Houthis do? What will Iran do? What will happen in Syria? I am right now just in the position of a spectator, of a person living through a storm, trying to survive, trying to exist, hoping the storm will not uh, this this heavy storm will not throw us into disarray. Uh, I feel powerless, sadly. I feel a little bit powerless in the face of what's going on. And all I have is to hope and pray that things will get better. I'm not hopeless, even though it's hard to see hope sometimes, not only in the Middle East, but in the entire world. Right now, things are not okay for a lot of us, and it will not be okay for a while. Things will be hard, especially for my American audience. I want to tell you, I'm sorry for what you guys are dealing with right now with Donald Trump. That asshole is gonna screw you over, he's trying to screw us over. Things are not okay. I think what's best is to review these events that have happened in an objective eye. Take a step back from our emotions, take a step back from, our traumas, try to process what had happened. It's easier to fall back into certain worldviews propped up by propaganda. Whether it's propaganda you agree with or disagree with, sometimes these propaganda, these hopes and dreams, they do not reflect the objective reality. Sometimes you need to take a step back and view things with an objective eye, and it's very hard for a lot of people, including myself, to do that. But we must try because reviewing what had happened objectively help us figure out what the next step for the future is. Uh, there were a lot of voices that were saying no to a ceasefire. A lot of voices from our side that were saying no to a ceasefire, continue fighting, continue weakening the IDF, continue. But I believe such voices, I disagree with them. I believe that when you are a people under aggression, I would say a country, I would say a people under aggression, a people under oppression, a people under genocide, a people facing war crimes, be it the Lebanese people, or the Palestinian people, or right now the Syrian people. Not pushing for a ceasefire is the wrong idea. You, as the person facing aggression, it is in your best interest to survive, keep your head high, and reach a point where your enemy can't carry on its aggression anymore and ask for a ceasefire, which you will take, which to protect yourself, to protect your people, to protect your homes from further destruction. That's the position that I see, personally. The people saying no ceasefire have likely eaten and not seen that child in the last few days. So yes, yes. Honestly, a lot of them actually, you'd hear a lot of voices from the West. Weirdly enough, talking about that, it's always astonished me. Online communists are so strange. I swear to God. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Luckily, I avoided political circles during the war. I did not need that kind of nonsense in my life. Uh, the stream is going in and out enough to maintain some sense. Such viewers would. Okay, you guys might experience a little bit of a buffer. I'm sorry about that. Hold on a second. So many things are happening on my server right now. Just deal with it real quick. Okay. All right. Speaking of children, during the war on Gaza, during this whole thing, after it started on October 7th, something that really affected me was hearing about the death of children. Like, there was that night where Israel bombed the hospital in Gaza, killed 1,000 human beings in a single night. That really, really saddened. One night I was doom scrolling through the news, and I saw uh, a piece of news about okay, we are back. We are back. I was experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. The internet connection is a little bit it's a little bit shitty, you know. It happens to be. You can have a little bit of storm or a little bit of fucking drone. I can't tell you, Israeli surveillance drones are so fucking annoying. You'd hear them all day in the morning, all the fucking damn day in your ear. Like, holy fucking shit, shut up. Now that's the reality of the situation. You've got annoying pieces of shit, and then the other day there was two sound barriers being broken, and then that shit sent me into a frenzy because, like, what the fuck was that? Um, what the fuck was that? The other day there was a thunderstorm, and when the first thunder was heard, everybody I was in class, and everybody there jumped, you know, was startled because for a split second you didn't know, was that a sound barrier, thunder, an airstrike? What the fuck was that? The the shit that happened, it sticks with you. It sticks with you. It's I believe this was, well, the most traumatic part of my life, or phase of my life, or time of my life, and I'd like it to stay the same because I'd like to stay that to be the most traumatic part of my life, or because I do not want to go through a harsher time, a more horrible time, more traumatizing time. That shit was fucked. That shit was. I do not want to go through it ever fucking again. I do not wish it on anybody. Back to what I was saying, when I heard about this little girl that finding her corpse, I had some sort of mini panic attack because, like, so fucking sad, man. Like, the children do not deserve this. Children do not deserve to be found dead under rubble. Their corpses smashed against walls. It's it's not right. It's not right for it to happen. Children should play and learn and laugh and live and learn and grow up to achieve their dreams and or at least try to pursue them until they're disillusioned by everything. But this is fucking this. I just don't understand. Death of kids, death of the elderly. Holy shit. That war, the only, I'd say the only bright side of that war, the only bright side of what have happened since October 7th is that all of these fucking war crimes were being recorded and uploaded online, boasted about by the people committing them, by the soldiers committing them. And because of that, this criminality, this evil is being seen in the eye of the world. The public opinion worldwide is changing against the occupation, Zionist occupation, against this genocide, against the war crimes. Increasingly, more and more young people are opposing this. Protests, boycotts. The public opinion. The Palestinian cause was brought back to the forefront. Uh, yes, I know, Nestor. It's really an ugly sight. Now, what did the war do to the economy? Let's just say the war fucked the economy. Now, a lot of things are pricier than before as a cause of the war. The war, I believe, caused damages that would require $11 billion to be for reconstruction in Lebanon. I'm not talking about Gaza. Gaza is gonna take at least a decade. And something about Gaza. Till this day, before October 7th, they haven't finished rebuilding after the 2014 war. They haven't finished rebuilding after 2014. So, what does that tell you? Really, what does that tell you? The rebuilding of Gaza is gonna be arduous, it's gonna be long, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna take so much money. And, it needs for truly an end of the hostilities and a long, long ceasefire to take shape. Estimates of Israel keeps current embargo, it will take almost 200. Yeah, it's gonna take a lot of time. And this is a humanitarian crisis right now. The worst thing about a war is not the direct, effects of it. It's not only the bombings, death, the destruction, the soldiers committing atrocities. Now that is very ugly and that is a very horrible thing to happen. But there's also the fact, food. Oh my God. Okay, listen, guys. I'm sorry if there's a little bit of buffering. I'm facing a lot of what do you call it? Technical difficulty on my end. It's not a good thing, and I do not know how to remedy it. It's an internet issue. Um, I just hope that the stream will not be cut off random. So you've got starvation, lack of medical care, lack of medical attention, and the IDF had targeted hospitals, UN relief centers, refugee camps, civil defense centers. Civil defense is basically it's like Red Cross, or basically it's like firefighters and the likes. So there's a lot of this humanitarian crisis going on. And the war and genocide is not only killing directly; it's also killing indirectly through lack of food, lack of water, lack of shelter, lack of medication, starvation, famine, diseases, uh, and that's not talking about emotional traumas. I've heard at the start of the war in Gaza, some psychiatrists within Gaza were saying we are seeing cases on the ground that haven't been even talked about in the textbooks that we have. This shit is so fucking horrible. You've got new types of complexes forming as we speak. And the presence of the okay, and there's also the presence of dangerous chemicals and substances. You've got asbestos, you've got lead paint that was in many of the older buildings and now spread, making most of the area uninhabitable. And I will add also to it white phosphorus. During the war, they struck Beirut with white phosphorus, and on my university's group chat, they sent us how to deal with a white phosphorus attack. Take off the affected clothes, put a wet rag on your face, run out of the area. And I thought to myself, if I was affected by a white phosphorus attack, I am not gonna have the courtesy of time to get off my clothes, put a rag on my face, and run into the street naked while I'm burning. No, no, man, I would be dead. Realistically speaking, if you are hit by white phosphorus, you'd be fucking dead. So that's why there's white phosphorus, all sorts of shit. For a while, the southern suburbs of Beirut could not be entered because of how reeking it was, how it smelled horrible from all the chemicals, from all the bombings, from all the depleted uranium, the bunker buster shells, the white phosphorus, all of that. It's fucking horrible. That's not talking about those cluster bombs, fucking cluster bombs. I have a friend of mine whose relatives, he lives abroad, but his relatives are in the area, and when they were checking on their home, they found fucking unexploded cluster munition that went through their window. So like, holy shit. Uh, there's no cure for white phosphorus, as Nestor is saying. It's using fucking chemical weapons, biological weapons. I don't know. There's and not to mention acts of terrorism, all forms of terrorism, making your enemy afraid. That was the IDF's plan, and they're fucking assholes for it. I'm gonna say that much. Moving on from that, let's go to more recent event. Recently, the funeral for it really comes and goes. I really have an issue with my internet connection. I'm really sorry about that. It shouldn't be the case, and I hope it won't be the case in the future. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's an internet issue. I'm still trying to work on it. It's how's the audio like? How's the audio like? How's the audio like? Is it cutting up? Can you hear me clearly? What's the situation? Yes, yes, okay. Frustrating right now for me. Just dealing with this internet issue. As I was saying, there was a funeral. The funeral was held in Beirut and was attended by about 1.5 million human beings. I was among the people who attended the funeral. Uh, I woke up 5 a.m., met up with a friend of mine around 7, and we marched from our homes to where the funeral will be held. And during it, there were Israeli jets that flew over us. And the first thought that came to my mind is, when did Hezbollah get jets to do an air show? And then I thought, maybe it's the Lebanese army, but the Lebanese army don't have jets. Maybe it's the French, but the French, why would they do that? And then it occurred to me it was fucking Israeli jet. I later heard that it was the same jets that assassinated Sayyid Nasrallah, and they were doing what's called a missing man formation, like a salute down at funerals of important figures, which was like either a sign of respect. It was both a sign of respect and a backhanded one. Like, oh, look at us, we're saluting him with the same planes that killed him. It's like Israel said that we considered bombing the funeral. Like, no shit. Like, you're Israel. Of course you considered bombing the funeral. We considered you were considering bombing the funeral. It'd be weird if the thought did not cross your mind. You dismissed it clearly, but they did it twice. The jets flew over us twice. I was honestly expecting to hear like a sound barrier above us, but it did not have. Um, the funeral was really packed. As I said, 1.5 million people were there, mostly Lebanese people. There's a lot of people who came from abroad, but there'd be like 8,000 probably. But most people were Lebanese people, and they were there to pay their respects to who we see as was an icon of our nation, our resistance, our liberation, a father figure of sorts, a man who we grew up with, a man who gave us a sort of comfort. The fact that he died, he was martyred during this war, and we didn't get to hear his voice after the ceasefire. It felt rather gloomy. And just for the YouTube algorithm over here, I'm not glorifying anything or anybody. I'm talking about the mental state of the Lebanese people, discussing it and making it clear to people this is educational. Yes, this is educational over here. Very weird thing, one of the videos that I had up, it was like one of the trailers for the game for Sun Al-Aqsa I put up like 3 years ago. Um, it was removed for supposedly targeting a protected group, and I had to do this whole YouTube thing, this YouTube survey, sensitivity training to understand that policy when it comes to protected groups. Now, the trailer was focused on fighting the idea, because that's an action game where you play as a Palestinian resistance fighter fighting against exclusively the IDF. You're not fighting civilians of any sorts, or the settlers. You're not fighting civilian populated areas. You are fighting against you know soldiers. And during that very test, I was asked on that survey a question about soldiers. Is attacking soldier, or like verbally attacking soldiers, is okay. They're connected. So as I say, is it an attack against a protected group? And I said, you know what, fuck it, let's go along with this. Yes, it is an attack against a protected group. YouTube themselves told me, no, my friend, you are wrong. Soldiers are not a protected group, and therefore anything you say against them, anything you say against them is not hate speech. I'm like, motherfucker, you took down my video for hate speech when it was about a video game where you fight soldiers exclusively. I did not appeal it. I honestly, I removed this. I just, no harm. Just I removed the video. I honestly wanted to remove it a while back. Um, there are some, I'd say, creative positions the developer took in the game. Like, I respect the game, I respect the developer, but there are some, creative choices in the game that I do not exactly vibe with 100%. I said, it's best just to not completely associate with it. Like, I still respect the endeavor. I still respect the political message, but um, I respect the guy himself. But I don't exactly like to associate myself with something that I am not 100% on board. So yes, for you, the YouTube algorithm, I'm not glorifying anything or anybody, okay? And I'm not talking about a protected group by your own standards. I'm talking about YouTube standards. I'm just trying to protect myself over here. So you know, this was the war, an ugly, 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 ugly fucking war. And honestly, whenever I hear a loud noise, I get a mini panic. Okay, just a little bit. I get started. I get a little bit, bent out of comfort. I feel out of discomfort because I feel jumpy around a lot of noises. I was jumpy around some noises before. I will not say that much. Me as a Lebanese, I've went through a lot of traumatic shit. There was when I was growing up, there were the ISIS attacks. One of their biggest terrorist attack was around the corner of my street. Um, you know, so that that had its effect. I And now even more. It's I don't think on a personal level. I think I'd still have that trauma in my subconscious, probably forever. It's For someone to heal from a traumatic experience, they need to first get themselves out of that situation that brings them more stress and anxiety and trauma. I don't believe I can remove myself from the situation. I can remove myself from the situation physically, but not leave my country, start a whole new life somewhere else. And I can't remove myself from this emotionally as hard as I try. I still care. I still care about people. Like even though I try not to obsess over the news, not to obsess over things, sometimes gloss over the news, I still care. I still care deep about my people. Not only the Lebanese people, about my people in general, about the Arab people, about the Arab causes, about our future, not only as an Arab people but as a humanity. A lot of issues are now standing against us. A lot of problems, a lot of ugly things are happening. I do not believe things will get any better anytime soon, but I do hold on hope, and I do hold on determination. Um, Take care, Nestor. Take care. So, one a part of why I want to become a lawyer is because I'm honestly sick of this ruthlessness and cruelty in this world. How darkness seems to be winning. How how good things keep happening to bad people and good people keep suffering. And I feel powerless against this. As an individual, I do believe a lot of us feel powerless against this as individuals. I want to become a lawyer because at least I think I'd have some form of power, even on a very, very small scale, to try and do some change, to try and protect some people from any kind of oppression. I do believe we as a people need to resist, need to resist all forms of, enmity to the human race. We need to resist famine, hunger, ignorance, illiteracy, extremism, hatred, you know, this blind anger that causes us to commit such horrible crimes against each other. I do believe at our core humans are good, but they tend to do some very stupid shit, very evil shit, under the effect of this or that, under years of propaganda, decades of propaganda, of racist, sectarian, hateful propaganda. I believe that things will be hard quite some time. I believe things would be going downhill for our planet as for our species. But I do believe that there could be a tomorrow. There could be a better day for us. There could be a future for us as a humanity. And I pray for that day. And I pray for that future. And I pray for that hope. We are currently during the month of Ramadan, which also coincides with the period of fasting for Christians. And I believe uh, I believe this should be, a time of unity, a time of understanding, a time where we as a people of the world put our hands, put our hands together and strive to be better. Strive to stop all this injustice happening around the world. Stop the genocide, both slow and fast, that the Palestinian people are subjected to. Stop the crazy, the madness that's going on in Syria right now. Stop the fighting that's going on in Sudan that has left millions in disarray and in famine. And, you know, strive to be better. I've been through this war. I've lived through this war. I've lived through this stress. I lived through this trauma. And I say that the one thing that I learned from this, that I understood from this, if that's one thing that I learned from this, is that war is hell. War is hell on earth. My friends, do not glorify it. Do not pray for it. Do not hope for it. Hope that we can avoid it. Hope that no person would transgress on another person. Please, I beg of. Always pray, for a ceasefire to happen whenever there's a problem. Always pray for the triumph of diplomacy, for the triumph of reason over hatred. And if you are subjected to oppression, stand tall, survive, resist, because that is your right. That is your right given by the United Nations, given by God, given by humanity. What's more to be said? What there's not really more to be said, really. I guess I can talk a little bit about the future of the channel. I did not stream a lot during the last year. That is true. Uh, I did not feel like at all because of all the death and suffering, and then came, the own issues in my country, and now I'd like to try and stream again whenever I can. Things like this, educational, emotional, discussing things, elaborating on things, and I'd like to also play more games. Try and dissociate from the horrendous state of the world right now, especially my region, the Middle East. Oh, I'd rather call it West Asia. No, I'd rather even more call it the Arab Mashriq, the east of the Arab homeland. But these are just semantics at this point. I I'd like that very much. And I'd like to bring back, some content for you guys. I really appreciate you, my viewers, especially the ones that try to keep contact with me. I appreciate all the friends that kept checking in on me, that helped me through these hard times, that that even offered me their homes if I am to leave my country one day because of what's going on. If I had to leave my country and go somewhere safe, they offered me their home to stay. They offered to buy me a fucking plane ticket. And to me, that is incredible. And that came from, it came a lot from Westerners, from Americans, from British folks, funny enough. And there's people who consistently checked on me, or consistently uh, worried about me, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you all, my dear viewers, my dear friends. I hope that this year, 2025, will be better for all of us. I hope that we can work together into a brighter future. Things are uncertain today, very uncertain today, but tomorrow will be better, hope. Thank you all for watching. I don't believe that I'd like to talk more. I don't think I have more to say. We've talked about the war, we've talked about the ceasefire, we've talked about the region, we've talked about not glorifying war and how hell it is. We've talked about genocide, we've talked about trauma, we've talked about a lot of things. And I do believe there's a lot more to be talked about here, but I'm just going up here right from my heart. As I said, any mental script I had was mostly thrown out of the picture every time something new happened. So, thank you all for watching. I had hoped that I'd have more people chatting right now, but sadly I did not, advertise this as much as I did last time because I was also worried that something might happen that would ruin this moment. And largely these internet issues could have destroyed the stream. Luckily they did not. Luckily they did not. And but I hope people will watch this. And as I said, I will put this at the forefront of my channel. This will be the first video new viewers and recurring viewers will see. And I'm hoping this was educational, this was helpful, and I hope this channel will continue to prosper, that it will continue to be a place where people would learn new things, understand new things, and and eventually, yeah, and also not eventually, sorry, and also would be entertained. Um, Thank you all for watching, everyone. Um, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope the month of Ramadan goes smoothly for you all. Um, I'm very pleased I managed to stream again. I hope I get to stream some more in the future. I love you all. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. And please, be good people. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. I believe the world needs needs some goodness in it right now. Goodbye and good night. Until we meet again.